Hello, Winding Creek families. I'm Mrs. Wardlow, principal of Winding Creek. And as we prepare for our students to return to school, I want to take a few moments to answer some of the questions or all of the questions that were submitted last week. First, as I have said, we are so excited about our students returning. Although we are together as a staff, most of the teachers are teaching from the building, it still feels very empty. We miss the smiles, we miss the laughter, we miss the fun, we miss the learning. So the excitement is growing for us, which I do believe you probably saw yesterday when you came through the distribution line to pick up student materials for next week. I think you saw the teachers, even through the masks, were smiling. There was a lot of joking and laughter, a lot of waving. And we're just excited to be able to have some of our children and people back in the building. So please know it's an exciting time. If you did not get your student materials, please make sure you drop by the school anytime this week and a Monday, anytime from 8:30 to 3:30. We've got them ready. All you have to do is tell us what you need and we'll bring them to the door for you. So please make sure if you didn't get those, make every effort to pick those up so that we're prepared for our new learning and work next week. So I want to take a minute of your time to try to answer some of these questions for you. A lot of the questions were about COVID procedures, so that's where we're going to start. Let's talk about the daily monitoring for COVID, and we're going to talk about our teachers first. Teachers complete a questionnaire at the beginning of the day with a list of questions that are very similar to the types of questions you see when you go to a dentist office or a doctor's office or even hair salons. That information is used to check for any possible exposures to COVID. And those questions are also reviewed by our school nurse every day. If she ever has any questions about something that a staff member has submitted, she immediately contacts that person and clarifies any questions and follows any procedures necessary that come as the result from that questionnaire. For our hybrid students that are coming, you will be getting an email from your teachers this week with a paper that you can print out or that you can look at every day on your phone of questions that we're going to ask you as a family to go over before you leave the house. Just post that somewhere, maybe near the door. You and the children can go over it together. And those are the same types of questions, just looking for any possible exposure to COVID. If you do have an answer to that question that you think is a positive answer or a questionable answer to it, please stay home and contact our school nurse. She is more than happy to help you and provide any support. Now let's talk about entering the building. Our staff enter the building through the front office. So at that point, that's when we check temperatures for our staff members. For our students, we will be checking temperatures outside. That's to help manage the number of students who will be coming into the building. So at our car riders and our bus loop, we will be checking students as they get off the bus or out of cars. There was a question about how can that be accurate with the temperatures outside. According to the directions for our thermometers, the thermometers need to be an ambient temperature for 15 minutes before using them. Once we check our students, if they are in the acceptable ranges, they will be allowed to go ahead and enter the building. If they are not in the acceptable ranges, then we will hold them to the side for just a moment to let them get acclimated to that temperature and test them again. If they are still not in the acceptable ranges, at that point, we will take them down to the school nurse or to our comfort room for our nurse to be able to go through and check them for any other possible symptoms or to just check them out and see how they are feeling that day. One of the things that we have learned from our elementary schools that are hosting the kindergarten pilot is that a lot of times in our car riders and sometimes even on the buses, our children are bundled up really warmly so that they are not getting cold, and then they have a heater going on in the car. So at times their temperatures are elevated, not because there are any symptoms, but because they're so warm from being bundled up. So a tip that we're kind of giving is that if you're a car rider, what you may want to do is turn off that heater as you turn onto Winding Creek Road and come on through the car rider line. That'll give them a chance to acclimate a little bit to the temperatures that are more normal around them. And then we probably won't have as many situations of higher temperatures. Same thing for our bus students. Some of those bus students, when they get off, they are very bundled very warmly and they have their hats and everything on. So we will be monitoring and looking for that as they get on and off the bus or come in and out of school. So there were a lot of questions about procedures for students and staff who test positive or exposed to someone who has tested positive for COVID. So I want to take a minute to go through our processes for that. First of all, Stafford County Public Schools does not require our teachers or staff to have regular testing for COVID. We do follow the protocols that I've already discussed about our questionnaire and taking our temperatures to monitor any type of exposure to COVID. Now let's talk about first if someone is the symptoms of the illness and if someone's been exposed to someone that has the symptoms of the illness but does not have a positive test. For staff and students alike, if someone feels ill, we ask them to please stay home. If someone's running a slight temperature, please stay home. Please don't take, we're asking staff and family members to not take any type of fever medication in an effort to let them to come to school. If they're running a fever, they need to stay home. Whether it's COVID or not, they need to stay home. So we're really asking for everybody to follow those guidelines. And fever is only one symptom of COVID, but is also a symptom of other illnesses. So if a student or a staff member comes to school with an elevated fever, the nurse is going to check them out for other symptoms. If at that time, or if a student feels ill, or a staff member, she's going to check them out for other symptoms. Once the nurse checks the student or staff member out and there is a concern that it could be COVID based on other symptoms, then the person, student or staff member, will be taken to our comfort room. Any student who is in our comfort room will have an adult supervision with them the entire time until the parents are able to come pick up the student. Staff members will be brought their personal items and asked to go home. School administration and district leadership team will be notified of a possible exposure of a possible case of COVID. The school nurse will initiate any contact tracing and follow all procedures for notifying persons who may have been exposed. All people suspected of having COVID will be referred for testing and will remain at home until we have a confirmed test or quarantine timelines have been met. Now for positive cases in the building. Once we have a reported case of COVID, the school administration and school nurse and district leadership team will be notified. The school nurse, with the support of our lead nurse for the county, will begin the contact tracing to determine who the person may have exposed or been exposed to. Contact tracing will include all possible exposures in the classroom, in the school, and on transportation, and possibly any daycare situation too. The Stafford County Health Department and Health Services are contacted to support the contact tracing and to give us any steps for further action. The goal is to give notification to staff and family members as soon as possible. Therefore, we will send out a letter to staff and family members once our nurse and administration have the correct information to share. Our goal is to notify parents and staff members the same day, even if it means after school hours. For anyone who may have had primary exposure, phone calls will be made to them as soon as possible. And as I shared from our school nurse when I spoke for her before doing this video today, she has made phone calls as late as 9 o'clock at night just to make sure that we're contacting everyone who needs to be contacted. Since this is an ever-evolving process with new information that is constantly coming out, Health Services for Stafford County Public Schools works very closely with the County Health Department. They meet weekly to learn any new information and to gain any new procedures or processes that we need to be using in our schools. Now, we had a few questions that weren't about necessarily directly about COVID exposure or testing positives, so I want to answer a few of those, all of those questions. According to the Stafford County School Board policy that was approved over the summer, anyone in the building is required to wear a face mask or face covering. So I had a question about face masks and eating breakfast. All students are to be provided a free breakfast. Therefore, students will be allowed to take their masks off to eat breakfast in the morning and to drink from a water bottle during the day. Safety protocols are in place with 6-foot social distancing between all students. All students are facing the same direction and they do remain seated. If you have any questions or did not get to see the slideshow that was sent out last week, you can get that slideshow off our website, and it has pictures in there that will show you classrooms that have been set up following the safety protocols. Also, please remember for hybrid students to send in water bottles for your students. Our water fountains are closed to the public, so children do need water during the day, and they need to bring in a water bottle for that. We have worked to create structures to minimize students transitioning in the building. So pretty much students will be transitioning in the building, of course, in the morning for arrival, at dismissal, and to go to the bathroom if there is not a restroom in the classroom. Children will not be attending specials in the face-to-face time of 9 to 12. So there will not be transitioning to specialist classroom. Children will view a recorded specials in the afternoon on the day they are face-to-face with their teacher from 9 to 12. And they will attend a scheduled live specials with their teacher, specialist teacher, on the day they attend face-to-face instruction with their teacher from 2 to 4. Teachers will send this information out again to you all, to your hybrid families, or to all families this week. Again, it is in the slide presentation, which is on our website. So if you want to go view that slide presentation, there is a detailed schedule information there for all of our families. So please take a look at that. Cleaning will happen daily. Once the students have left, all hard surfaces will be cleaned nightly. Electrostatic cleaning will happen when we shift from Group A to Group B, which will be on Wednesday nights and Friday nights. And then there were a couple of questions about the schedule and the schedule of face-to-face time with the teachers. One of the questions is, why is the face-to-face time with the teachers so late in the afternoon from 2 to 4? Hybrid students will be in the classroom until 12 o'clock noon. And where it seems like 12 to 2 is a long time, let me tell you what goes on between that 12 to 2 time period in the school. To support the safety protocols, dismissal will take longer for loading cars and buses and could take up to 45 minutes. Children remain in the classroom with their teachers at their desks until the last student is loaded into a car or on a bus. And the teacher remains in the classroom with those students. So teachers, following that time period, teachers need time to eat, and then they need time to get all set up and ready to go with their technology to teach virtually those students in the afternoon. So although it appears that there is a long break for our teachers, it's not long when you take all of these other considerations as a part of that time period. So I just want to take a moment of your time to say thank you for submitting your questions. I hope this has not only helped you that submitted the questions, but all of our other family members that I'm sure had questions too. I do want you to know that I especially recognize that these are difficult times for all of us. We are all having to make really, really hard decisions that at times don't seem fair. In reality, they probably aren't fair. But what I do know is this: I do believe that at Winding Creek, we can make the hard decisions. And I also believe that our hard decisions are better when we work together. We are a team, and we are the best team because we are Winding Creek. So I just want to say thank you for your time. Please stay safe, take care of yourself, and take care of each other.